a member of the House Intel Committee. Congressman, let's start with that riddle, because I feel as if this isn't, you're not building a circumstantial case. You guys have, in some cases, first-person witnesses. This is not the Mueller report. This is not one-offs here, an Australian diplomat there, and yet it's not moving the other side here. At what point does that become a problem?
Well, it's not moving the other side, Chuck, today, but let's see what the future brings. Let's see what the continued disclosure of these depositions, which is incredibly powerful testimony, brings. Let's see what the open public hearings brings. We're going to be treated to, I think, some incredible conversation between some of these witnesses and members of Congress. I keep thinking about Ambassador Yovanovitch, who has had a 33-year, incredibly distinguished career in the Foreign Service, and the administration's operatives went after her to destroy her character, destroy her reputation, to destroy her career. And the fact of the matter is, she is exceedingly well regarded. Let's let her tell her story and then see what the American public thinks, along with the other witnesses.
How much does public opinion, at least among Republicans, is clearly having an impact on how Republicans publicly respond to these allegations, which means public opinion is playing a bigger role in this than maybe, it should, and we could debate the ethics of that, but it is. How much should your side take that into account in your mind?
Well, I don't know that it's a question of what we're taking into account, Chuck. I'm looking at the evidence. I'm going to the depositions. I'm paying very close attention to the evidence. But the fact of the matter is, maybe public opinion is what our friends on the other side of the aisle need to pay attention to. It has moved. And the fact of the matter is, with what I think is forthcoming, it's probably going to move more.
So where do you hope on these impeachment hearings? Is there a way that the public's going to feel like they hear new information, or do you believe it's verbalizing it, seeing it in public, that will start to change the conversation?
Well, yes, I do believe it'll start to change the conversation, but it's actually for both reasons. There are, believe it or not, still some members of the public who haven't tuned into this yet, and for them it will be new information. And there are others for whom actually hearing it out of the mouths of Ambassador Taylor and Ambassador Yovanovitch and Dr. Fiona Hill, when they actually hear these words and digest what happened here, I think very well could have a big impact out there. Listen, I've been in on virtually every one of these depositions and virtually every minute of them. And it's incredibly impactful to hear the story in their words. And by the way, we should add, Chuck, every single witness that has come before us in virtually every material way has corroborated one another's representation of the basic narrative of what happened here.
I was just going to say, by the way, I'm just curious on the whistle report front, is there anything left in the whistleblower's report that you haven't been able to corroborate?
I don't think that that's something I should reveal until the deposition that answers that question is out, but stay tuned.
Well, okay. Well, that was a nice little tease there, Congressman.
Sorry, Chuck.
Fair enough. And on the hearings themselves, look, the calendar is what it is. And while you want to, I know you want to say you're going to take as long as is necessary, but the calendar is what it is. How many weeks do you expect to need for these hearings? How many witnesses do you think is necessary for the public to understand why you guys may vote articles of impeachment out of the House?
Well, I think there's a mountain of evidence in support of that at this point, as we've both indicated. But I think we're going to have fewer witnesses for the open public hearing than we had depositions. I don't think we have to have them all back in, and I certainly don't think we have to sit through 6 to 12 hours of questioning with them. But the bottom line, and the answer to the spirit of your question, Chuck, is I fully expect and hope that this will be completely dealt with on the House side before the Christmas district work period.
I'm curious, constituent-wise, I hear three different sort of views of how impeachment plays outside of Washington, what I've heard from voters, and I'm curious how you answer the following question. There's that voter that sort of says, yeah, I know he's done all this stuff, but I knew that from the beginning. not, you guys aren't telling me anything I don't already know. I got this in November. What do you tell that voter about why you need to go through this process?
So there's probably not a lot of return on an investment for that protracted conversation with somebody who's already made their mind up. But I tell you the way that I deal with people when we have this conversation. In fact, I was home this week at a early veterans ceremony at the City Hall of one of the towns in my district, and he was kind of on the other side of this issue. And it was a matter of me just saying to him, and his name is Paul, I said, Paul, this is a matter of conscience. This isn't about political calculus or an evaluation about what the impact will be on the election. The power to impeach, the remedy that our founding fathers gave us, is aside from the authority to declare war, the most important thing that Congress can do. It's the most serious thing that Congress can do. So I always talk to people about, I'm undertaking this as a matter of conscience. And, people of goodwill, even if they disagree vehemently, can extend to the other person the respect to pursue matters of conscience, I think, in many cases.
And then there's another argument you can make, Congressman, which is you can make the argument, the politically expedient thing to do is to avoid this and just go to the campaign. So in that sense,
Sure.
You guys are doing this the hard way politically, if you will.
Well, it's a weighty decision. So why add to the weight of the decision? Why add to the difficulty of the decision the added layer of, okay, what's the political implication of that?
Right.
It's a heck of a lot easier just to set that aside and ask yourself, what is the right thing to do here?
Congressman Denny Heck, Democrat out of Washington State, thanks very much. Much appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Coming up,